Merry Christmas from Sacramento. I am Jonathan Keller with California Family Council.
And this is Greg Burt with California Family Council.
So, folks, every year we try to do a year-end wrap-up outside the Capitol building. Normally we try to do it at twilight when the Christmas tree behind us is all lit up, but unfortunately it's about to rain. So we're trying to do this quickly before the rain starts. You can see the Capitol building behind us. You can, of course, see the Christmas tree behind us. One thing I will say, Greg, just briefly, is that you can't quite see, but there is actually a nativity scene right back there as well, right over there. The great thing, folks, that I'm reminded of, it's just a blessing, even in the state of California, despite everything they try to do to suppress mentions of Christianity and hide faith and come up with any alternative belief system, despite that, Christmas is still celebrated here at the Capitol. And you cannot remove Jesus. He is the defining point of all of human history. And it's just a reminder, even in California, despite their best efforts, Jesus is Lord and he reigns above all. So, Greg, we want to very quickly cover a couple of different things before the rain starts. We wanted to give you an overview of a couple of the bills that we monitored this year. We want to talk about some big projects for next year in response to Gavin Newsom's Future of Abortion Council. And we want to talk about a special year-end opportunity. So, Greg, very quickly, just a couple of the bills, the greatest hits, or I should say the worst hits from 2021.
Well, we have a long list, but we were just talking beforehand about what was the bill that was the most egregious, that might have the most long-term effects. I think there's a debate about this, but obviously one bill that is on a topic that's created national controversy is critical race theory. And here in California, AB 101, it will now be ethnic studies, which is full of critical race theory, is going to be a class that is mandated for every California high school graduate. And so I'm sure we don't have to get into all the details, but critical race theory is really returning to just judging people based on the color of their skin, and some people are on their oppressor class and some people are in the oppressed class, and it has nothing to do with actual what you've done personally. It all has to do with the history of other people who've done the similar things, you know. So all the white people are guilty for every white person who ever was a racist, and every person of color who's ever been persecuted in the past, that's now people today should feel oppressed because of what happened in the past. So it's really a terrible philosophy, going to divide kids, teaching that this country is systematically racist from its foundation. Right, and it needs to be ultimately all torn down and start over, right?
And I think that any person who has their eyes open, I think any of our viewers, any conservatives, any Christians, we would all agree that absolutely there were elements of racism in our country's history. We realize that there are racist people that exist today, and there are racist problems in the country today. But it's one thing to address those and work to move past those and work to fix those, to create a more perfect union. It's another thing to begin teaching kids, even as young as kindergarten, but certainly by the time they're graduating high school, that they themselves are defined by which type of class they are a part of. And I think that's just totally wrong. I agree, Greg. Definitely one of the worst bills of the year. What else?
What else? All right, another bill that was really egregious is a bill, AB 1184, which would actually it's targeting at insurance companies, health insurance companies, and telling these companies you cannot reveal certain type of medical services that your minors receive if these services are under a category of sensitive services. So anything to do with abortion, anything to do with contraceptions, any gender transitioning and drugs, puberty blockers, surgeries, all of that is sensitive services. Kids have privacy rights, and insurance companies should not reveal to parents not just who is charging, but what the services they're being received are. So that's an egregious violation of parental rights, puts kids at danger. You know, that is unbelievably egregious.
Well, and you think of it again, like you said, Greg, the fact that the left, tragically, I think, believes that parents are at best supplemental, or they are maybe not unnecessary, but they certainly are not the primary decision makers for their children's medical issues and for medical rights. They're not the primary caretakers. They just kind of are, cooperating with the state. But if a child and their doctor decide, you know what, even though I'm only 8, 10, 12 years old, I want to begin this process of puberty blockers or gender transition, parents should not have any say. That's what, sadly, the legislators behind us in this building behind us voted for, and what Governor Newsom signed.
Yeah. All right. Another egregious bill that actually signed that's already a court's already started to throw out is SB 742. This was a bill actually supposedly protecting vaccination sites from harassment. So they wanted to make sure a person wanting a vaccination could go into a vaccination site and not be harassed. But how they defined harassment meant nobody could hand you a flyer. No one could hold a sign close to you. No one could try and have a conversation with you. There was a 30-foot buffer zone around every person, right? Yep. And if you think about all the places that do vaccinations, we're talking the Walmarts, we're talking the Walgreens, we're talking obviously every medical facility, but it's also every abortion clinic. So,
because it's not just COVID-19 vaccines, it's any type of vaccination, flu vaccines, HPV vaccines, anything. And Planned Parenthood very cleverly, very deviously announced earlier in the year, as this bill was being considered, that they were going to become a COVID-19 vaccine provider. So this means essentially you would not be able, Greg, to engage in the great pro-life outreach like someone like our friend Wynette Sills does on a weekly basis. She could be considered trespassing. She could be subject to fines and maybe even jail time.
Yeah, I mean, she's handing out information to women to make sure they know that there are opportunities and services available if they wanted to have their child and not have an abortion, right? And so she's offering people this kind of information in front of abortion clinics all the time, has tons of stories of saving babies' lives and persuading mothers to keep their children. None of that can happen anymore. But Alliance Defending Freedom, who we align with all the time, filed a lawsuit against this bill. And
on behalf of our other good friend, John Girardi, and his great team in Fresno at Right to Life Central California.
That's right. And the judge halted the law, said it was so obviously a violation of freedom of speech. Because one of the things that the law did, it gave exemption from one type of speech. There was one type of flyer you could hand to somebody if the flyer contained information about a labor dispute.
So unions that were picketing, whether they were outside of Walmart, Costco, Walgreens, or even Planned Parenthood, as long as it was about unionization, as long as it was about a labor dispute, that's okay. But if it had anything to do with the pro-life cause or any other cause, suddenly you are illegal and you're breaking the law. So, Greg, what else do we have? I know there's one bill that I think is important for us to cover, SB 245. That is a bill that did not actually pass yet,
right,
but it is pending. And I think it might, I don't want to take too much credit, but I think that it might have to do with the fact that we had the California March for Life here just behind us only 4 months ago.
Yeah, this particular bill is requiring insurance companies to pay for all abortions with no copays and no deductibles. So it's going to be a free medical service that every insurance company has to cover in every insurance plan. And so that bill actually got stalled in the Appropriations Committee the day after our march. And that was one of the bills that we were highlighting. But we have heard that they haven't given up. It's a 2-year bill, so they plan to bring it back this year and vote on it again, because Governor Newsom wants California to become a abortion sanctuary.
Well, and that's a perfect transition, Greg, because not only this bill, SB 245, but a few days ago, Governor Newsom has this new group that is very horrifically called the Future of Abortion Council. Now, you might have seen just last night, we actually did a webinar, an hour-long webinar talking about this document, a 15-page report produced by the Future of Abortion Council. We talked a lot about what it contains, ways that we may be able to push back. We heard from some great speakers, but I encourage you, first off, go watch that webinar. But if you haven't seen it yet, very briefly, Greg, this document it contains 45 specific policy proposals. Among those are SB 245. They're wanting, like you said, to pay for every single abortion, demand that insurance companies charge no deductibles, no copays. There's all sorts of other horrible, egregious things. One of the worst, Greg, is the fact that they're basically wanting to turn California into an abortion tourism state. I mean, Governor Newsom actually did use the word. Folks, you'd think we'd be kidding, but he actually did use the phrase, we're going to be a sanctuary for abortion. I mean, that is not what the word sanctuary means.
No, and not that just people can come to get their abortions here, but they can come and have taxpayers pay for them, pay for their travel expenses, pay for their hotels, pay for whatever it takes to come all the way to California to have your abortion. They'll even pay for child care, right? So that a mother can go and abort her unborn child. And so,
Greg, that's one of the most disturbing and I mean just skin-crawling aspects of this. To think that we know, tragically, that very often single moms across the country, if they feel like they do not have a good support system, they sometimes feel that the best option for them is to have an abortion. They feel like it is the only option. They feel trapped and stuck, but they say, look, I've already got 2 kids. I just can't afford to have a third one right now. The fact that Planned Parenthood would say, instead of trying to connect them with resources where they're at and say, well, why don't we try to connect you with churches? Why don't we try to connect you with community-based help? Why don't we try to provide opportunities for you to successfully parent and raise your family? They instead are saying, fly out to California, the taxpayers will pay for it. Stay in a hotel, the taxpayers will pay for it. And then come get an abortion, the taxpayers will pay for it. But while you're there, we realize you have 2 kids. We will literally have the taxpayers pay to watch your children in one room while their unborn brother or sister is being killed in the room next door. I mean, that's just one of the most evil and despicable things I can think of.
no, and what makes it worse is they think they're doing something good, right? So it's this whole idea of when doing evil is thought of as a moral, heroic thing, right? And that is the worst tragedy of all, right? I mean, currently they estimate that 46,000 people from other states come to California every year to get abortions, right?
That's currently, before any of these new proposals.
They expect, if Roe collapses and
overturned by the Supreme Court in the Dobbs case. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. You guys might have seen our videos there outside the Supreme Court.
Yeah, they if that happens, they anticipate 26 states, I believe, will now then ban abortion, and as a result, they expect California to have 1.4 million people come to this state to get an abortion, and they have this big surplus now.
$31 billion of taxpayer money. When we talked about this, Greg, a couple weeks ago, I was interviewed by the Associated Press, and Governor Newsom said, look, we have this massive surplus. California is swimming in cash because of how high our taxes are, because of the federal government subsidies that have come to the state of California through the coronavirus relief bills and all these things. And instead of trying to address the homelessness issue that you see right here in downtown Sacramento, instead of trying to address the mental health concerns that play into that, or the drug epidemic that is ravaging parts of the state, or even just the educational inequities, the school closures, the incredibly high cost of housing, I mean, all these different things, instead of that, the state of California has decided that they're going to spend this money to incentivize, underwrite, scholarship people to get abortions here in California.
And I just don't think, I know California's blue, but I don't think we really want to be known as an abortion capital of the country.
Or the world at this point.
Oh, I know. And so, and not only that there are 45 suggestions for legislation include, the things we talked about, but it also includes other crazy items. It's like their wish list that they've always wanted to do. Now they're going to push it through. So they're going to make late-term abortions easier. They want to pressure faith-based hospitals into the abortion business. So all your Catholic hospitals who don't do abortions, we're going to pressure them into doing them. They're going to offer special scholarship programs. to get more abortionists trained. They're going to require more doctors to take abortion training, right? So we really are concerned about conscious protections of people in the medical field who don't want to be involved in abortions at all, being forced to be trained and actually do abortions.
You can imagine if you are a young pro-life doctor, male or female, and you are considering going into maternity care. Imagine if part of your maternity care, before you could be licensed as a doctor to help deliver babies in a Protestant or Catholic hospital. I know there are Adventist healthcare centers. There are lots of Catholic hospitals across the state. Imagine if before you could be licensed, you had to participate in an abortion in the state of California. I mean, it's just unconscionable.
They want legal protections for do-it-yourself abortions. So folks who, for whatever reason, can't get to an abortion clinic and they do an abortion themselves, or they have somebody else do it for them, it will provide legal protections for them, which is just unbelievable. They want to eliminate consequences for women who harm their unborn children with illicit drugs. If you harm your child right now by taking illicit drugs, you'll be charged with harming your child. Well, they want to remove that penalty. They want to make, obviously they want to target pro-life pregnancy care centers, right? They think they're the worst of the worst because they're giving out false information. They're not
by their definition of false. And Greg, this is something that they tried to do several years ago with a bill called AB 775, and they were slapped down at the U.S. Supreme Court. Again, our friends at Alliance Defending Freedom, they sued the state of California on behalf of these pregnancy care centers, and they won. It was a narrow win. It was a 5-4 decision, but Justice Clarence Thomas agreed that this was a gross violation of the free speech rights, the religious liberty rights of these pregnancy centers to be required to advertise abortion. Well, now they're trying to take it from the other direction. Instead of saying you have to discuss abortion information, you're saying, well, we are going to shut you down because we think that you're engaging in practices that you're not giving everybody the full range of information since you're not telling them about abortion.
Yeah. So anyway, these are some of their plans, and so my job here at the Capitol is to make you all aware of them when they actually get turned into legislation, to organize people to speak up, and we cannot be silent in a time like this. And because abortion's such a hot topic now, when previously many times the topic is among the culture we don't talk about, it's too controversial, but now is the time to defend the rights of the unborn, and to offer women real choice, right? Make sure that every church knows their own pregnancy care center. Are we supporting it? Are we making sure every teenager knows about it? We want to offer real help to women, and real help to women is not offering, ending the life of their children.
I think that is a perfect place to start wrapping it up, Greg. It is it is feeling more and more like the rain has not actually started falling, but is like this cold front moving in. So before we close, I want to just encourage everybody, if you did not get a chance to watch the webinar from last night, Tuesday the 21st, it is available on our website. Just go to californiafamily.org, and there's a pop-up there that takes you straight to the replay of the webcast. Again, we had some great speakers: Jeannie Mancini from the March for Life, Irina Grossu, Allison Centofonte, David B. Wright, Allison Martinez from the California Alliance of Pregnancy Care. Really just a great event. And one of the things we announced at that webinar, Greg, that I just want to close with, we are really privileged that we have a group of generous donors that has come together, and they have actually put forth a matching grant challenge. We've had this the last couple of years, but this year it's actually our biggest challenge in the history of the organization. $175,000. These donors have said, if you can go out and raise money, we will match it, dollar for dollar, up to $175,000. And already Greg, we've raised already over $51,000 in matching grants because of this. This is huge. $51,000, which is now going to be doubled and worth $102,000. We have a total cap on this. If we are able to match every dollar, it would be a total of $350,000 that have been raised. Now, you might ask, man, that's a lot of money. What are you guys going to do? Well, I can tell you, Greg, in light of all these new bills that are coming from the Newsom administration, we need to grow bigger. California Family Council right now, we have about 70,000 email addresses on our mailing list. 70,000 is not enough. I know that sounds like a lot, and compared to some other people in other states I've talked to, that's a lot. But we don't need 70,000. We don't even need 700,000. We need about 7 million email addresses on our list. We need to grow California Family Council so that your voices, the grassroots supporters that make this ministry work, you need to be respected and listened to by every legislator here inside the Capitol building. And it's not about Greg and me. I mean, Lord willing, this ministry will endure long after both of us are gone. But the goal is that the voices for life, family, and liberty would be respected and heard by every person inside this building. Yes, even Governor Newsom. And I can tell you, Greg, it blows my mind. In some other states, there are actual personal relationships. The executive directors, the communication staff, the grassroots lobbyists, they are on a first-name basis with either the governor of the state, the lieutenant governor, or some of the legislative leaders. And, Greg, you and I have had some meetings with members of both parties. I don't know that I'd say we're on a first-name basis with them, but they do know who we are. And I'm praying for the day that we will be able to have a sit-down with Gavin Newsom even and be able to tell him, look, Governor, we love you in the name of Jesus, but you're doing some really bad stuff. I don't know that that's going to happen anytime real soon. I don't know that he's want to be seen with us before his reelection. Who knows? But the point that I make on this is we need each and every one of you to step up and to get involved, especially this coming year with all of this insane abortion legislation that's coming down the pike. So I would make a twofold request. Number one, if you are not already engaged with us on a communications level, make sure that you follow this page on Facebook. Make sure that you sign up on our email list. Go to the website. There's a sign up button there. You can sign up on our email list. But my second request is, would you please make a year-end gift to California Family Council? As I said, every gift that you make between now and December 31st, every gift will be doubled, dollar for dollar, up to $175,000. It doesn't mean you have to give, a $10,000 gift. We literally, Greg, the other day, we got a $5 gift. And guess what? That's going to be doubled to be $10. And I know that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but as I mentioned, Greg, we have 70,000 people on our email list. Unfortunately, only a tiny, tiny fraction, maybe a couple dozen, maybe at most a couple hundred of those people that are on the email list donate. But if every one of those 70,000 people just gave $2, that's $140,000. That's almost the entire amount of the matching grant with only a very small donation. So I would request, if you go to the website right now, if you go watch that webinar, or if you go there to the website and you look at the top, there's a button that says $175,000 matching challenge. If you go there right now and you click that, it will tell you all about the match. There's a place where you can give right there. You can give by credit card. You can give by debit card. If you'd like to, you can, of course, send a donation in the mail. You can send a check in the mail. We'd be happy to accept that as well. But I just want to ask you all, please prayerfully consider making a donation, and we will use it. Greg and I promise that we will use it to the best of our ability to make a difference here at the Capitol. Greg, how would you like to have more staff up here with you at the Capitol?
I would love to have a big staff, right? I mean, there's so many bills that we could organize better with if we had more staff. So I'm praying one day that we have a staff of 5 to 10.
That would be huge. And I know that seems relatively small, but at this point, Greg and I are the only full-time staff members with CFC, believe it or not. And I'm excited, Greg, because I think that we do have an intern right now. That's a Capitol intern. I have an admin assistant who's part-time back in Fresno. But I think that moving forward, there is really a strong chance, a strong likelihood that we will be able to bring on at least one new staff member in 2022, maybe even more. And we've already talked about other outreach opportunities. People ask, as I said, where does the money go? We're already preparing for the March for Life Part 2, the 2022 California March for Life will be coming right back here to the Capitol building, and we would love to have all of you come to the Capitol. And this year, with all those abortion proposals, it's going to be more critical than ever that people stand up and speak out.
Well, that in addition to the Supreme Court's going to make a national announcement about what to do with the Roe versus Wade decision, so abortion is going to be a national huge issue that's going to be in everybody's mind, and so the culture is watching, and we just hope to be a light for Christ in the darkness, and speak His values and speak for justice in the dark places. And that building over there is pretty dark.
It is, but one of my favorite verses, the people walking in darkness have seen a great light. It is the whole story of the Christmas season. It is what the nativity behind us at the Christmas tree, it is all about the fact that light, true light, has come into the world and the darkness has not overcome it. So thank you, Jesus, for coming into the world. Thank you for being born as a little baby and dying on the cross to save us from our sins. And thank you, everybody who's watching this, for standing with us and being a part of shining that light here at the Capitol and in every corner of our state. So, Greg, any closing thoughts, comments?
Just thank you. Have a Merry Christmas with you and your family, and God bless.
Merry Christmas, everybody. God bless. Again, thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your generous financial support, and we will look forward to talking to you guys in 2022. Merry Christmas.